Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. 50 years is a milestone. It's an occasion to celebrate, an opportunity to momentarily look back, but also continue to chart the path to move forward. It brings me great delight to welcome all of you here this afternoon as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of Bon Echo Provincial Park. My name is Clark Richards, and I'm the acting Park Superintendent at Bon Echo. This is the second year I've been working at this great park, and I've determined that Bon Echo exemplifies some of the best natural resources in the province. There are spectacular landscapes and scenery. There are tremendous opportunities for natural and cultural heritage appreciation and recreation enjoyment. There's a very passionate and hard-working park staff team, many of them are at the back there, and a very active and dedicated Friends of Bon Echo organization, who you see the members in the orange ochre shirts. For these reasons, and I mean there's many more, I really believe Bon Echo is a special place in this province. It was 50 years to this very day, on July 21st, 1965, that Bon Echo officially became an Ontario provincial park. I'd like to pause and ask, just by show of hands, did anyone attend that opening ceremony? Oh, that's tremendous. That's great. We've got some special guests here today. Those of you who were present would have witnessed and heard the words of a very important person in Bon Echo's history, and that was Merrill Denison. Without the great foresight and desire to preserve the Bon Echo area by Merrill Denison and his family, who were the former landowners and donated the property to the Department of Lands and Forests, this tremendous natural resource would not be protected today. When the park first opened, there was 200 campsites, and the total protected park area was 1,200 acres. Over the past 5 decades, Ontario Parks has continued Merrill Denison's vision of protection and living with nature. And today, Bon Echo offers over 500 campsites and permanently protects over 20,000 acres of land. The camping technology has also evolved over the years, from arriving in wood-paneled station wagons and sleeping in canvas tents, to arriving in hybrid vehicles guided by GPS systems and sleeping in multi-room synthetic tents or large trailer or RV units with all the amenities of home. But the reason people come to Bon Echo is still the same. It's a place of majestic natural beauty. It's a place to unplug from our busy lives and find spiritual refreshment. It's a place to connect with nature. Our 52-member park staff team is proud to present, protect, and be caretakers of Bon Echo Provincial Park. In keeping with our mandate and objectives, we strive to manage this place in a manner which encourages visitor education, appreciation, and enjoyment, while also protecting its diverse ecology, rich human history, and rugged beauty. This balanced approach ensures that the natural environment will remain intact and available for both present and future generations past the next 50 years. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, and I really hope you enjoy the celebration. Thanks. I'd like to introduce our Natural Heritage Education Leader, Lisa Roach. Lisa coordinates our very successful education and interpretive programs at Bon Echo and is a cultural history expert. She's going to present an overview of Bon Echo's history. Here's Lisa.
So, as Clark mentioned, Bon Echo is a really special place for a lot of people. Staff that work here often become lifelong friends with their colleagues or some of their colleagues. We also have people that get married at this park. Did any of you get married here? Oh, a few. There you go. A few people in the front. We also have families that come here year after year to spend time together. Some of you maybe have been coming here for 20, 30 years. Anybody been coming here for over 30? There, wow, a few. A lot. Excellent. Thank you for continuing to come to the park. There are also people that come here specifically, families at Thanksgiving. How many of you come here for Thanksgiving? Oh, fair number. So Thanksgiving here, again, it's time for family time. People decorate their campsites. Pretty cool. So if you've never been here at Thanksgiving, you definitely should come. Other people come here to enjoy the solitude, the peace and quiet. A few people have written in that they just spent a nice kind of tranquil time here thinking about their life, kind of getting some things in order. We have a lot of cottagers in this area, a lot of local residents who spend some time in the park as well. So as you can see and hear, it's a very special place. Now, the common thing that goes through everyone or connects everyone is the land that's in the park. So I'm going to take you on a little journey of the park, kind of before it became a park and since it's become a provincial park. There are a lot of photos. Unfortunately, the sun, which I know you like, isn't cooperating, but we'll see how, hopefully you can see some of the slides. And some of you that were here at the opening 50 years ago, you'll see a couple of pictures with you. So let's start. So it's the land that connects all of us. It could be Mazenah Rock, maybe Kishkabush, canoe route. How many of you have canoed the Kishkabush route? Wow, great. It might be a very special piece of land for you in the park. Abe's in Essence. How many of you have done all 3 loops? Way to go.
All the way around?
All the way around. Excellent. Native people were here a long time before a lot of people realized. There are a number of archaeological sites here. We have one that goes back about 4,000 years ago. The people who were in this spot camping, had a seasonal campsite, did some fishing and hunting. But 4,000 years ago, people were attracted to the lake and the cliff. We also have a site that's a little more recent, about 1,000 years old. People were coming here. Again, exploiting the wetland plants, fishing, collecting and gathering plants for food. So a seasonal campsite. We also had later on Native people who made the pictographs. How many of you have seen the pictographs close? Very good. So the pictographs, some of you may not be aware, each pictograph is put in a very specific place on Mazenah Rock. None of them are painted just in any place or done because they had some spare time on their hands. Each one is put in a specific place because of a religious or spiritual experience. It's thought that they were made probably by the religious leaders for religious purposes or spiritual purposes. The cliff and the lake are said to be a place where the upper world and the lower world meet. So it's a perfect place to come to get some help and talk to the spirits. This particular pictograph is said to be probably one of the very cliff itself. There are 2 other places on Mazenah Rock where you can see this pictograph, and this one does not show up anywhere else in Canada. It seems to be unique to the site. And some Native elders have said that it's Mazenah Rock. So again, the connection to the land. We have a very popular and very famous panel of pictographs near the north end of the lake. The 2 animals on top are said to be pictures of an underwater spirit that lives here called Mishi Pazoo. Michipizu is never painted at a site unless the lake is very, very deep and it has a cliff. So again, the land is very important and was important. Underneath the two pictographs of Michipizu is said perhaps to be a pictograph of a canoe with people or spirits in it. Michipizu as well is painted at Agawa Bay in Lake Superior Provincial Park. Have any of you seen that pictograph there? Oh, a few people? Excellent. So again, site-specific to this particular land. These pictographs, which are a little hard to see, are some of the ones that people never see here. There are thought to be a little over 263 recorded pictographs. There are a number more that just haven't been officially recorded, and these are some of them. Again, sorry, it's hard to see, but there's a pictograph of a thunderbird. And if you've been on the Wanderer tour, you've probably seen it. Thunderbirds are mythical birds that are said to live on really tall hills or cliffs. And in fact, thunderbird nests are supposed to be on top of the cliff. Thunderbird is said to cause storms, thunder by flapping their wings, and lightning comes out of their eyes. This particular pictograph of the thunderbird has its arms spread out and even the talons painted. This particular talon touches that diagonal quartz vein in the rock. So native legends go that when a thunderbird shoots lightning out of its eyes and hits the earth or ground, quartz appears. So again, that connection to the land and very specifically to the rock. Later on, settlement started to happen in this area. The Addington Road was constructed in 1854 to 56. It was the first road into this area. Actually, the construction was late compared to other parts of Ontario. This was very, very dense forest and not the easiest thing to do to build a road. That opened up the area for settlement, and around that time, the government was offering free land grants to people to attract them to stay in the area. People received 200-acre lots, and some people took the government up on this. Unfortunately, as you know, the Canadian Shield's not the best place to settle, especially back at that time. They had to clear the land themselves. Mr. Tapping, who had a farm here, it's located in the park. He and his son ended up actually farming here for a few years. They had cattle. They actually grew some crops, potatoes, things like that, and actually supplied a lot of the lumber camps in this area with their food. And you can see a picture here of the remnants of some of the Tapping buildings and the fence line. Logging changed the land in the mid-1850s to the end of the 1890s. Changed it quite dramatically from what you can see now. A lot of people came to this area to log the white and red pine trees. You can see ones right beside you now or behind you are more of recent growth. A couple lumber mills were constructed. One was at the south end of Mazenau Lake. And 1890s is approximately the time when most of the red and white pine trees in this area were removed. A lot of them ended up going to Britain to be used for the masts on their sailing ship. And after that time, this area, including the cliff, became known as the Bald Hills. So a lot of people, especially around Merrill Denison's time, talk about the Bald Hills. So later on, take a look at the cliff and try to imagine it with not a single tree on it. With the logging and the forest fires, the rock was devoid of trees. So quite different to what it looks like now. So the big change, one of the bigger changes, came here in 1899. So in that year, Weston Price spent time here right around the Narrows and Mazenal Lake on his honeymoon with his wife. They loved the area and found out that the lake and the rock has acoustic properties, echoes, and they named the area Bon Echo. So they loved the land so much that they decided to build a resort here. Now, can you imagine back in 1899, 1900, building a resort right here with very little, one road? They couldn't just go down the Cloyne to pick up a lot of things to build it. So they actually built the Bon Echo Inn. It was 3 stories, and it actually was located just behind us to the left. They wanted it to be a place where people could relax, kind of get rejuvenated from living in a city. It was 3 stories, about 28 bedrooms, had 5 cottages, and some of them were right behind you. And they had tent platforms as well, 2 large docks, a windmill, and a boathouse. So some of the activities people could do at the inn were some of the same things that you're doing today. They could canoe. They offered rowboats for people. We have no diving platform now, but at the time they did. 14 boats, launches, and you can see they did have inboard motors, but just 1-cylinder gas engines. So it didn't go very fast. Mr. Price actually decided to, at the time in 1901, to build a footbridge over to the cliff and also built an iron stairs up the side of the cliff so his guests could take picnic lunches all the way up the stairs and have their picnic on top of Mazenal Rock. So there's a picture of Mr. and Mrs. Price's Bon Echo Inn. Pretty nice, 3 stories, nice wraparound porches at the end. You can see better there. A nice tower so people would get a good look out. That was what the Narrows used to look like in the early 1900s, late 1800s. You can see, or not see, there are no trees there. Not like it is now. So quite different. Weston built the bridge, and again you can see the water level was lower. And that's the stairs looking from the top. So no real handrails, just the side, just like a ladder. So that's what people used to climb to get to the top of the rock. And if you do go on the Clifftop Trail, you will see one segment of that stairs that's still on the cliff as a reminder of what people used to have to climb. So, Flora McDonald Denison bought the inn from Mr. and Mrs. Price. She had a very different view of what the inn should be. She was very liberal thinking and was very much into democracy, women's rights, a well-read person, was an author. She purchased the inn from the Prices. And you can see it was 14 parcels of land. She bought Mazenal Rock for approximately $13,000. Pretty amazing. And you can see some of the things that she was known for. She worked at Simpson's in Toronto as a very kind of haute couture dressmaker, into a lot of different things, including spiritualism, which was very popular in North America around the 1900s. And as some of you know, she was very much into Walt Whitman and loved his poetry. And you can see she wanted to attract different people, more writers, playwrights, authors, musicians. And unfortunately, she passed away in 1921. So her son Merrill inherited the inn. And he operated it with his wife as the manager for a number of years. Again, they kind of tweaked what the inn should be like, what it should offer. Merrill was a very well-known playwright in Toronto and later on in Canada. He worked at Hart House. He was also a member of the Toronto Letters Club. So got to know a lot of what would become very famous Canadian authors and playwrights, also artists, and that's where he met some of what we now know as the Group of Seven. So Arthur Lismer, A.J. Casson, Franklin Carmichael, and a few others started coming here because of their friendship with Merrill. They were still kind of struggling artists. They were actually, a lot of them employed in printmaking shops, but they would come here in exchange for providing Merrill and his wife with some free publicity and promotional materials. And so, sorry, that is really hard to see. It's a painting of Arthur Lismer's painting of the sheep's nose, which we now know as Turtle Rock. So a few years ago, this particular painting was sold at auction for about $1.2, $1.3 million, and it was sold to the Vancouver Art Gallery. So one of the, a spot right in this park is in this famous painting. You can see later, I can show you another picture by A.J. Casson, who came here later. He joined the Group of Seven later on after Frank Carmichael left the group. And this is of Mazenau Rock. So they spent a number of years here off and on painting. The inn closed in 1929, unfortunately, because of the Depression and the financial troubles that the Denisons were in because of that. To make money, they decided to rent out the inn. It was a boys' camp and later leased to the Levens brothers. And they operated the inn until 1936 when a very bad storm struck, lightning struck the inn and it burned to the ground quite quickly. It was made all of wood, birch, poplar, things like that. So it went quite quickly. So Merrill was always interested, as was his mother Flora, in land use and conservation of land. He said, and he quotes he says this in one of his journal articles, that he thinks he became a conservationist when he was 8 years old on his first site here of Mazenau Rock. And to him and his mother, and this is a quote from him, he says, Bon Echo was one of the most spectacular natural beauty spots in Ontario, a place to which people were drawn far and near to feast their eyes on its majestic mass and find spiritual refreshment in communion with nature, something that still happens today. And over the years, he thought a lot about the land and what would happen to it once he was gone. So he said it would be nothing less than a national disgrace were Bon Echo to be divided up into different parcels of land and sold piecemeal for summer building lots. So after a lot of talk with his wife, he decided in 1958 to donate some of land to the provincial government as a place where people could come. It would be a park and the land would be protected. So in his agreement, though, it stipulated that Merrill and his wife and their survivors would have a life interest in a small piece of land within the park, and that they would be able to use it until they passed away and their survivors passed away. So the three buildings are Dollywood, Cabin on the Hill, and Greystones. So they stayed here after 1958, for summers, until they both passed away. The agreement and the land was officially transferred in 1959, and then shortly after that, the province started working on plans to make this a park and eventually a provincial park. So, in 1960, there were 70 campsites here. Was anyone here back in 1960? Oh, a few people. 1962, the park grew to have 400 campsites. This is in 1962. There were 84,000 visitors here in that year. 98,000 visitors came a year later in 1963. 1964, more land was added to the park. And that 1964, it was 15,500 acres. Merrill also donated 53 acres more to the park. And then 50 years ago today, park opened. Where you're sitting now, there were over 500 people in attendance for the official opening. A historic plaque was unveiled on a large rock, which hopefully some of you will see after. And the plaque says, acquired by the people of Ontario through the generosity of Mr. and Mrs. Merrill Denison, Bon Echo Provincial Park is dedicated to recreation, conservation, and education in memory of Flora MacDonald Denison, Merrill's wife, and Muriel Goggin Denison, which was Merrill's mother, and Muriel was his first wife. This is one of the photos of the official opening. So again, right where you're sitting now, a very small stage. Muriel, and to the left is Merrill Denison, and to the right is Mr. Spooner, who at the time when all the land agreement was going on was the Minister of Lands and Forests. So he's helping, Merrill's second wife, Lisa, cut the official ribbon for the opening of this park. You can see two people that worked here at the time, just before the unveiling of the historic plaque. And we have a photo of 3 people who were here, and some of them are in the audience now, with Mike Schwager, who was the caretaker of the Bon Echo Inn for a number of years while Mr. and Mrs. Denison were here for the summer. And some of you may have known Mike. This was the park entrance back in 1965, a little bit different than it is now. Bon Echo today, we now have, as Clark mentioned, about 8,295 or so acres, over 20,000 vice versa. We have 6 cabins now on Bon Echo Lake, cabin on the hill, 6 yurts, and 2 new exploration tents, which we just have opening this year. The Friends of Bon Echo, too, have been a big part of the growth of the park. Again, helps fund educational activities, research. They operate the gift and book shop. And as Clark said, we have about 52 to 60 staff. The last few years, we're averaging between 170 and 180,000 visitors. That's a lot of people in a short time span. We also have the Mazenal Monster. And a lot of rock climbing routes. And today we still have some Anishinaabe and Algonquin people coming to the park to use it for spiritual purposes and to take a look at the pictographs and to teach the young people about them. So I have a challenge for all of you after. I'd like you to go to your favorite spot or one of your favorite spots in the park. Take a really good look at the land around you and just give a silent thank you to Merrill Denison and his family for allowing us to come here and enjoy what he enjoyed in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for your very informative snapshot of Bon Echo's history. I'd like to welcome our Ontario Parks Southeast Zone Manager, Sandy White. Sandy manages 42 parks in an area that spans from Springwater Provincial Park north of Barrie all the way east to the Quebec border of Voyageur Provincial Park near Hawkesbury and the 40 parks in between. So here's Sandy.
Quite a bit shorter than Clark. So thanks, Clark and Lisa. That was really a great opener for everybody here. And what a beautiful day. I got up this morning and it was quite cloudy. I live in Peterborough and I thought, oh geez, I better drag the sun over here. So that's worked out really well. So welcome to Bon Echo. It's an honor to join you today for the 50th anniversary of the park. Ontarians are fortunate to have a system of over 330 provincial parks that balance natural heritage protection with recreational opportunities. And Bon Echo is a shining example of that. And I'm really proud of the park and the shape that it is in. And I want to thank the staff for their contributions here. Clark took me around this morning and I had a great opportunity to look about the park. I don't get out of the office very much, so I was very happy to get out and see that. And it's just been a wonderful morning for me. So thanks very much to all the staff that work here. The park looks tremendous. So it's no surprise that Bon Echo has become a popular destination for families and outdoor enthusiasts such as yourself, and the creation of its 50 years of history. The park's picturesque location and significant cultural history that Lisa just took us through are true depictions of the rugged Canadian shield and wilderness that we've all loved and grown to enjoy. Not only does the park provide an incredible variety of recreational opportunities, its provincial park status affords protection to the extensive pictographs located along the Mazenau Rock. And as Lisa mentioned, there's over 260 of those, and we're still working through some history of identifying those. It's a rare and incredible illustration of the area's significance when it comes to First Nations presence. Since its establishment in 1965, Bon Echo has evolved and matured as a provincial park. While many visitors to Ontario Park still enjoy their traditional camping experiences, many visitors have indicated their preference for a more comfortable outdoor experience. And Bon Echo has lived up to those expectations. In addition to the park's 500 plus campsites, extensive interior canoeing and hiking facilities, the park also offers comforts and amenities for many of you that bring your homes along with you. For example, we have cabins and yurts here that Lisa mentioned earlier, and renovated log cabin. Bon Echo also offers exceptional variety of roofed accommodations for visitors who prefer the hassle-free holiday. However, I'm especially pleased with the park's unique partnerships with Loyalist College to expand its roofed accommodation program. In exchange for the contribution to the park's roofed accommodation offerings, the students are given an opportunity to put their newfound skills into action and gain meaningful experience on a project. And Clark was instrumental in moving that partnership forward, and students have gained valuable experience and now are coming back to visit and want to stay in the cabin that they've actually built here at Bon Echo. So thanks again for coming today. Have a wonderful celebration, and thanks for having me, Clark. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sandy, for your very spirited comments. There's a rich history of art in the park and surrounding area, and it seemed only fitting to reflect that in our celebration today. I'm really excited to introduce a live musical performance by folk artist Jesse Perron. Jesse is going to perform the song Bon Echo, so here's Jesse.
Making wishes at night. There's plenty of stars that go round. It's okay to wanna hide. We'll sleep outside tonight. Stars make no sound, but their echoes can be heard all year round. guide your boat across the lake, and leave your troubles in your way. The laughter is so loud that the echoes can be heard all year round.
Congratulations to the superintendents and park staff through these 50 years of excellent stewardship that have made the Bon Echo Provincial Park a magnificent place. Thank you very much.